Success is gender-free and color-free. So, quote from Gannon Baker, guy I work for, Nike Global Skills Academy director, travels all around the world, works with different ethnicities and races. You know, it's a quote I've learned to really appreciate over the past couple years, and it's opened my eyes a lot. And it still goes on today. Racism is still very, very widespread in the United States and really all over the world. People are still being racially profiled and limited in what they can do just by the color of their skin or their gender. A couple of these incidents have taken place in the past couple of weeks. One, the Marcus Smart incident. I don't know how much you guys keep up with sports, but Marcus Smart's an African American basketball player for the Oklahoma State. He fouled, went to the stands. Fans said something to him. We'll never know what he truly said, but the speculation is that he said go back to Africa. Marcus Smart then pushed him. Marcus was suspended for 3 games. And it's not a place for it. It's no place at all in a college environment to say something to this to a 19-year-old kid who doesn't really know how to deal with it, or maybe has never dealt with it. Maybe he was fortunate to grow up in a nice, wealthy neighborhood. His parents are, both have good jobs and live in a middle class neighborhood. Maybe he's never encountered this. And another example is Michael Sam, the defensive end from Missouri, the first openly gay player in the NFL. It's just a lot of discrimination in general towards gender and color. A lot of this goes on in law enforcement. Being a criminal justice major, I've researched this and still don't understand it myself. And the fact that I just don't understand how all this was spoken upon and not necessarily outlawed, but Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King had their impact over 60 years ago, and it's still something that's going on in today's society. And back to the law enforcement issue, it's becoming more and more of a problem, in that African Americans make up a larger percentage of males in prison. So you can look at this number and look at the population difference and see that African Americans are being racially profiled. And basically what this does is it points at the law enforcement and criminal justice system as their fault. But it's really the officer's fault. It takes place usually in larger cities. I know they've had many problems in New York City about this. And racial profiling, it sets the standard that we should be weary of someone solely based on the color of their skin, when this really has nothing to do with anything. Like I said, officers are placed in difficult situations, certain aspects of their job, based upon the color of someone's skin. And some of this goes on knowingly and on purpose, and some of it goes on, it just happens that way. But there's no time. in the society we live in today, there's no time and place for this. I think something needs to be done about this. Just because it still is a big issue, and it's not just with African Americans at all. You look at Muslims and Arabics. You look at the racial profiling going on in airports. It's almost a 10-to-1 that if you're wearing a turban and you're walking through the airport, that you're going to be subject to maybe harassment, double, triple security screenings, and some of this is on the fault of other people, that they have that reputation, but that's like saying everyone's the same. If this guy is from Pakistan, everybody else is just like him, which obviously, as we know, that's not true. I went to a school where I got to know a few Arabics myself and understand the Muslim culture, and they're highly racially profiled. It's just, like I said, it's no time and place in the society we live in today. And like I said, I think law enforcement has a lot to do with that. And maybe some of their own race has something to do with that. Sometimes, in books I've read, it's the white man's fault. Sometimes you got to take responsibility, but then again, there's the opposite to that. It's no one's fault. Like I said, success is gender free and color free. You can't judge someone's ability based on the color of their skin. You need to get to know that person and understand who they are and understand where they come from. I myself, I don't look at a person based off their color, their skin, or their ethnicity, or their background, or whether they come from high class, middle class, low class. That doesn't interest me. The only thing that interests me is what type of person they are. And if I get to know them and they're a good person and they come from a low class neighborhood, poverty area, then great. But just because they come from there doesn't mean that I put my stamp on that they're not a good person. Racial profiling discriminates, it keeps racism alive, and continually puts members of law enforcement in difficult situations. And this is all people, for that matter. It puts everybody in difficult situations. Nobody likes to be profiled, and some people don't like the profile. Without racial profiling, society can begin to live in such a way where the color of a person's skin has no direct impact on anything. And that's the way I like to see society move towards. Being that it is Black History Month, Dr. Martin Luther King is, he was instrumental in the success of many things, and not just African Americans. He was for everyone's freedom and everyone's equal rights. Which I really agree with that, and I love Dr. Martin Luther King, and the fact that he stood up. He was that guy who stood up and did something to change. Everybody can make a change, but you got to be willing to take the risk. The obvious risk that Martin Luther King took. But like I said, success is gender free and color free. Something that I live by. Something that if you don't live by, you should consider it and try to live your life imagine living life through somebody else in their situations, being judged based off of your skin color or your gender.